He knew that suspicion was bound to fall upon the person who hesitated in bringing a crime to the attention of the police, and he also knew how eager they were to seize upon the obvious solution. So he told the boy, indeed, he could be said to have commanded him, to call the authorities instantly. The boy, trained in obedience by his father and by 2 years at San Martino, assumed that the authorities were those in charge of the school, and thus went downstairs to report to his commander the presence of a dead boy in the third-floor bathroom. The police officer at the Questura, who took the call when it came from the school, asked the name of the caller, wrote it down, then asked him how he came to know about this dead person and wrote down that answer as well. After hanging up, the policeman asked the colleague who was working the switchboard with him if they should perhaps pass the report on to the Carabinieri, for the academy, as a military institution, might be under the jurisdiction of the Carabinieri rather than the city police. They debated this for a time, the second one calling down to the officers' room to see if anyone there could solve the procedural problem. The officer who answered their call maintained that the academy was a private institution with no official ties to the army. He knew because his dentist's son was a student there, and so they were the ones who should respond to the call. The men on the switchboard discussed this for some time, finally agreeing with their colleague. The one who had taken the call noticed that it was after 8 and dialed the interior number of his superior, Commissario Guido Brunetti, sure that he would already be in his office. Brunetti agreed that the case was theirs to investigate and then asked, "When did the call come in?" 7:26, sir, came Alvise's efficient, crisp reply. A glance at his watch told Brunetti that it was now more than a half-hour after that, but as Alvise was not the brightest star in the firmament of his daily routine, he chose to make no comment and instead said merely, "Order a boat. I'll be down." When Alvise hung up, Brunetti took a look at the week's duty roster, and seeing that Ispettore Lorenzo Vianello's name was not listed for that day nor for the next, he called Vianello at home and briefly explained what had happened. Before Brunetti could ask him, Vianello said, "I'll meet you there." Alvise had proven capable of informing the pilot of Commissario Brunetti's request, no doubt in part because the pilot sat at the desk opposite him, and so when Brunetti emerged from the Questura a few minutes later, he found both Alvise and the pilot on deck, the boat's motor idling. Brunetti paused before stepping onto the launch and told Alvise, "Go back upstairs and send Puccetti down." "But don't you want me to come with you, sir?" Alvise asked, sounding as disappointed as a bride left waiting on the steps of the church. "No, it's not that," Brunetti said carefully. "But if this person calls back again, I want you to be there, so that there's continuity in the way he's dealt with. We'll learn more that way." Though this made no sense at all, Alvise appeared to accept it. Brunetti reflected, not for the first time, that it was perhaps the absence of sense that made it so easy for Alvise to accept. He went docilely back inside the Questura. A few minutes later, Puccetti emerged and stepped onto the launch. The pilot pulled them away from the Riva and toward the Bacino. The night's rain had washed the pollution from the air, and the city was presented with a gloriously limpid morning, though the sharpness of late autumn was in the air. Brunetti had had no reason to go to the academy for more than a decade, not since the graduation of the son of a second cousin. After being inducted into the army as a lieutenant, a courtesy usually extended to graduates of San Martino, most of them the sons of soldiers, the boy had progressed through the ranks, a source of great pride to his father and equal confusion to the rest of the family. There was no military tradition among the Brunettis, nor among his mother's family, which is not to say that the family had never had anything to do with the military. To their cost, they had, for it was the generation of Brunetti's parents that had not only fought the last war, but had had large parts of it fought around them on their own soil. Hence it was that Brunetti, from the time he was a child, had heard the military and all its work.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.